New Rochelle is a particular problem. The numbers have been going up. The numbers continue to go up. The numbers are going up unabated. And we do need a special public health strategy for New Rochelle.
Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Jenna Flanagan.
The state and city are ramping up the fight against coronavirus, which has infected more than 170 New Yorkers as of Tuesday afternoon. Governor Cuomo has announced a 1-mile containment zone in New Rochelle, an area he says has, quote, probably the largest cluster of these cases in the United States. His focus, not on containing people, but rather large gathering spaces like schools and houses of worship. They will be closed for 2 weeks, starting Thursday. Amid supply shortages, Cuomo also says the state is making its own brand of hand sanitizer, which will be provided statewide to government agencies, the MTA, and schools. Here in the city, Mayor de Blasio says the ability to test for the virus has improved, though the global hunt for a vaccine continues. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Bob Arnott, who worked on the Ebola virus, joins us once more to discuss possible treatments. But first, Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
I had told this audience at a recent press briefing that we have a number of vaccine candidates and one prototype one to give you a feel for the time frame of a vaccine and what its impact might be now and in subsequent years, is that I told you we would have a vaccine that we would be putting into trials to see if it's safe and if it induces a response that you would predict would be protective in about 3 months. I think it's going to be a little bit less than that. It's probably going to be closer to 2 months. That would then take about 3 months to determine if it's safe and immunogenic, which gives us 6 months. Then you graduate from a trial, which is phase 1 of 45 people, to a trial that involves hundreds, if not low thousands of people to determine efficacy. At the earliest, an efficacy trial would take an additional 6 to 8 months. So although this is the fastest we have ever gone from a sequence of a virus to a trial, it still will not be any applicable to the epidemic unless we really wait about a year to a year and a half. Now, that means 2 things. One, the answer to containing is public health measures. We can't rely on a vaccine over the next several months to a year. However, if this virus, which we have every reason to believe it is quite conceivable that it will happen, will go beyond just a season and come back and recycle next year. If that's the case, we hope to have a vaccine.
I do want to turn a little bit now to talk of a vaccine. There's been some confusions, let's say, from some public officials about whether or not a flu vaccine will actually help with the coronavirus or not, and when we can expect everyone to have access to tests and when there will be a vaccine. That information seems to be a little bit muddled right now as well.
So Tony Fauci, head of the National Institutes of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, simply the finest infectious disease expert probably that's ever lived, it's quite clear that it's 12 to 18 months before you have a vaccine. Having a vaccine, like a company I think came forward and said, we got a vaccine. Sure, they may have one that can go into clinical trials, but it's a long time before that vaccine actually becomes available. So I wouldn't count on that at this point. And as the virus changes over time, like the flu does year to year. In fact, one of the questions is whether, corona becomes kind of endemic like the flu and just comes and goes every year, part of the regular disease mix, or whether hopefully it goes away.
We are also entering springtime, and springtime for a lot of people can bring allergies, which can bring sneezing and coughing. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have coronavirus, but that your body's reacting that way. We are still dealing with the flu, which, as I understand, is technically still more deadly than this virus. That's still in. So it just seems like there's so many different things for people to be aware of suddenly. Is it that we should be more vigilant, or should we always have been this vigilant?
Well, they're going to be more panicked, too, because, suddenly that allergy starts to go on. You go, oh, my God, do I have corona? So I think just to kind of separate it all out, you should go to the CDC site and look at all of the symptoms of allergies, and look at the weather and various sites that will have whether allergies are up and coming in your particular area. So it's New York now with these high temperatures this week. You might expect to see more allergies flare. So I would say, as a watchword, be very, very wary of those early symptoms. Don't be afraid. Don't go to your doctor, but call your doctor and say, I have these early symptoms. I'm a physician, but when my child gets sick, I'm not dumb enough to pretend that, I'm a pediatrician. I call the pediatrician. I'll call him at night saying, my son has this fever, has a sore throat. What should I do? So, really rely on healthcare providers because they're excellent at a differential diagnosis. That is, could be flu, could be allergy, could be corona. Let them discern instead of you. Now, with the flu shot's still important. Why? Because it would hopefully take you offline. So if you don't get the flu, there won't be any, concern as to what it is. And the piece of advice I do give to people is this. Look, if you think you're starting to get the flu, the signs and symptoms may be very similar to corona. You don't know. And so I do advise, my own family to look at the antiretrovirals like Tamiflu as an example, because they will work with the flu if you think that's what you have. And you have to take it literally within 12 to 24 hours. 48 hours gets to be too late. And it may or may not work against corona. They have tried it, obviously, in different countries with some of these anti-HIV drugs as a means of trying to treat the virus.
So then that brings me to another, I would say, uniquely American situation that we're dealing with when it comes to this need for isolation or self-isolating, self-containing yourself, is that a lot of us are taught or conditioned to, you power through, you push through, you keep going. And so people have been known to go to work if they're not feeling well. And then there's also the added issue that there's a lot of Americans who don't feel they have the option. They don't have paid sick time. They will be penalized if they miss work. And so how do you, if you are an hourly wage worker, how on earth do you miss 2 weeks of work?
You don't. You can't afford to. I think in the service industry, if you're working in the restaurant industry, an example, and you're paid by the hour, and you have no other guarantees, what do? You kind of power through and you go to work. I was in a situation the other day where there was a service provider there. It was just dripping with cold. I mean, just all over the place, clearly littering the cold virus all over the countertops and broom handles and whatnot. But she had no choice. I mean, she can't miss one single day of work. So I think one thing that public health authorities aren't thinking about is that there's a lot of people that just can't afford to take that day off work, and they are going to power through. And that's a real risk.
As coronavirus continues to spread, questions remain. Where exactly did it come from? And could it have been stopped before the outbreak? Some scientists say yes, as NJTV's Michael Hill reports.
An economist would call this a market failure, a failure of the free market.
A failure 17 years ago to pursue a drug to stop another coronavirus, SARS, in its tracks. That result paved the way in December for the new coronavirus. So says Rutgers University founding director of the Institute for Quantitative Biomedicine, Dr. Stephen Burley. Burley and his team now are helping the world put a bullseye on the novel coronavirus. Among the latest casualties, an elderly couple from the quarantined Princess Diamond cruise ship in Japan.
This is the editor for the coronavirus.
Senior biocurator Brian Hudson explains once the coronavirus invades a human cell, the enzyme on the screen helps its proteins to infect other cells and other people. A Shanghai company recently made a discovery of an inhibitor inside the enzyme and produced a 3D structure.
There's another chemical that's covalently bound, that's attached through a chemical bond to the protein. That's the white stick figure here. And this has stopped the protein in its tracks. And if this were happening inside a human cell, the virus would not be able to replicate and the infection would not be able to progress within the person.
Dr. Burley and his team are federally funded to share such discoveries through the 49-year-old Worldwide Protein Data Bank. Rutgers and 2 other universities lead the U.S. operation of the Protein Data Bank, open to millions of scientists, professors, and pharmaceutical companies for research. Dr. Burley says the infection machine in the coronavirus is nearly identical to the one in SARS that his private practice team discovered in 2003.
Their evolutionary relationship is so close that had an effective blocker of the SARS main protease been discovered and developed in 2003, it would stop the current infection in its tracks.
Why wasn't it?
The SARS virus epidemic died down, and there was no appetite for investing large sums of money in the discovery of a drug for a disease that had already departed.
Do you consider that a mistake by...
I think all the decisions that were made at the time were rational, but with the benefit of 20/20 hindsight, which is what hindsight is, we now know that that coronaviruses will continue to jump the species barrier to human. We know these coronaviruses are very highly conserved throughout evolution, and it's likely that a drug effective against one coronavirus, if the target is chosen in such a way that we focus our efforts on the evolutionarily conserved targets, the ones that are similar from virus to virus to virus,
right,
that we could have a drug or perhaps a family of drugs available to manage virus infections going forward.
Just how important is this protein data bank to humankind? Professor Burley sums it up.
Modern biology would look completely different.
Dr. Burley says he's about to publish research showing the Protein Data Bank facilitated the development of more than 95% of the new FDA-approved anti-cancer agents from 2010 to 2018. Reason for hope in the fight against the new coronavirus and perhaps viruses to come. Michael Hill, NJTV News.